Okay. And this was really helpful to me in a time where I felt like I wasn't hearing from God like I used to. And that was a trick of the enemy. Like, God was still there as much as he ever was. My grief was just really loud. My grief was just really loud, and I wasn't really open to hearing what he had to say unless it was like, okay, I'm taking this pain away from you. It's like, that's all I wanted to hear. So as I began to process my prayers more and like linger and just like sit with God after without an agenda other than like hearing from him and being diligent, so much would come from that. So literally I would like take out my journal. I would sit there for a second. I would like write whatever came to my mind, like literally just whatever it was, I would write, and I would just trust myself like that I'm hearing God. And then I would take those things and then I would journal from there and use those things to continue the conversation.
You're listening to the First Class Life Show hosted by Lindsay Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Hey, my lovely First Class family. Welcome back to another episode of the First Class Life Show. And I'm super excited because we have the Sierra Brown here of Melanin Well here to share with us all the nuggets that I know she has. Listen, we got to meet in, I believe it was Orlando, Florida a few years back, and I just adore her, and I followed her on Instagram ever since. She posts some good nuggets. So definitely, you already know, we will have that info in the description. But meanwhile, we're going to hop right into this conversation because I know that you, as the high achieving leader you are out there maximizing your impact. And we are here to figure out how we can do that continuously while we are creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So let's just hop right into the conversation. Hello, Sierra. Welcome.
So excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. I can't even wait. So I obviously know how phenomenal and amazing you are, but I need you to share with the First Class family, like, who is Sierra Brown? Peel back the curtains and give us the good tea, okay?
What a question. Okay. What a question. So I am a sustainable wellness coach. That is who I am by profession. So basically I serve Black women of faith every single day of my life, helping them to unlearn a lot of the crazy stuff that we've learned about nutrition and food and dieting, and relearn completely different things. Okay. So that they can serve God at a higher capacity. And who I am outside of what I do every day is obviously I'm a lover of Jesus. I am a lover of Jesus. I'm a single woman, living her best single life in Dallas, Texas. And I am a sister. I'm the oldest sister of a giant family. And you know what? That's who I am.
Nice. So you are a single woman, sustainable living for the Black woman of faith. Mm-hmm. I love that. Now, you mentioned you were the oldest sister of a giant family. So how many people were in your family?
So I started to say it, but then I was like, oh, let me count. So I have 3 sisters and I have 1 brother. I used to have 2 brothers, but about 2 years ago, my youngest brother passed away. He got murdered in a car accident, which I feel like that might have been like shortly after we met. Maybe, possibly. So I'm still going to count him. So 3, 4, 5, oldest of 5, 6. Yeah, 6.
Listen, oldest of 6. And then having, you said your youngest brother passed away?
He's the next to youngest, actually. Mm-hmm.
Would you mind sharing just what that journey was like? Because I couldn't imagine. I have 2 brothers and I'm very, very close to one specifically, but still I have 2 brothers and I could not imagine what that would be like for me.
Well, he was only 23. And before it happened, I had never really lost anybody close to me before. I think I had an uncle that passed away when I was like in middle school, maybe. So I really didn't know what to expect. I really didn't know what grief was like. But so much of what I do now and what I teach now is very much so based off of my experience the past couple of years, because prior to my brother passing away, I was like a perfectionist. Like, I think that within this space, we love being high achieving Black women, but there is a line. And I literally tried to work the day after my brother passed away. Like, I literally like wanted to continue to work. And I think that was because I wanted to be distracted from how I'm feeling. And I think a lot of Black women can use productivity and use work for that same reason, like subconsciously. So I spent a lot of time very depressed, obviously the first year, as I should, a lot of time in bed, but I still kept up with my business throughout it. And the first year that it happened, God blessed me and like doubled my revenue. But I really feel like that was because I was obedient in my resting. So I was able to keep up with everything, but I did it in a completely different way. And that's when I came up with my group one-to-one hybrid coaching program, because I was like, I can't be any more than I am right now. So I had to figure out how to serve, you know, giving out less time and less energy, but it ended up being magic. So, you know, me and my family were still getting through it. We actually just had the sentencing hearing for the man that killed him. It was a drunk driver. He was going, originally we thought it was 150 miles per hour, but we learned in the sentencing hearing that it on the impact, it was 170 some miles per hour. Yeah. And it was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and my little brother, like, it was whenever we like really didn't know if we could or couldn't do things. And my little brother was like, man, if they take away everything, I have to get a haircut right now. That crispy lineup. Those what his last thoughts. And it's funny because he's funny. Our relationship is funny. So it like makes it light. But yeah, he was on his way back from getting a haircut, and a man triple the limit, you know, 173 miles per hour, hit him from behind.
That is wild, to say the least, and only makes it that much more traumatizing, I'm sure. And one thing that I definitely want to point out is that grief looks different for everybody. I know sometimes when people are posting about grief, maybe on social media, like you'll have a range of comments, especially if the person gets right back to life. You'll have people like, why is she already working? Or why is she laughing? Or, you know, why is she out to dinner? It's like, one, you know, life keeps moving forward, but it looks different for everyone. Like you said, you wanted to be distracted after he passed away. Likely, I'm assuming, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but because you didn't want to think about what just happened. And if you thought about it, it was likely more to make it real.
Absolutely. I struggled in the beginning, and this is just me being completely open and honest. I struggled in the beginning with the visual of what happened. I made the mistake when it first happened. Everybody tagged us in when they sent their condolences on Facebook and everything. They shared an article that described the scene and like tagged us in it. And I made the mistake of like reading the article like the same day. And that article created this visual for me that like all I could think about was like, you know, my baby brother, like in a car that explodes. And so for me, it was, I'm trying to avoid being still enough that I have that visual in my head. And I think that a lot of people struggle with like, what were their last moments like? What did they feel like? And for me, I'm blessed in the fact that I know that like he passed away immediately, like he didn't suffer, but that visual still really bothered me. But the thing is that even though I wanted to work, God eventually sat me down. Like God eventually was like, sis, I'm not going to tell you to rest no more. Okay. I'm not dealing with this. Okay. I'm screaming at you that I'm giving you permission to rest and heal and take care of yourself.
And that is so important. And that is how it happens. Before we talk about that, because I definitely want to touch on that piece as far as resting and the avoidance piece that you mentioned. But you also mentioned just being distracted. And I know we can use a lot of different things as leaders to be distractions from the things that we're going through in our lives or in our businesses or in any area of what we're doing in the world. And so what were some of the ways that you noticed or begin to identify that I'm using this as a distraction? Like you mentioned, you were quick to go back to work. Were there any other things that you also used as a distraction?
Absolutely. And it's funny you asked that, because when people ask me to like tell my story or share my business story or my personal story, I like put it in seasons. Okay. And this last 2 years of my life is like season three. And it's really defined by how I was choosing to distract myself. And what I mean by that is that I have always been a fit person. You know, I've always enjoyed lifting weights. I've always enjoyed cooking and meal prep more than the average person. And I actually, there was a period of time where I was sick in college where I gained 50 pounds. And that's that's season one. Okay. And I was able to lose that weight, but I did it in a super unhealthy way, like most of us do. And so for me, when he died, I wanted to like tap back into that place where I was like, okay, I want to work out all the time. I want to monitor like what I eat more. Like I'm telling myself, like I want to take care of myself because life is short. But really, I was tapping back into that older version of myself that literally just threw myself into everything that is health and wellness and neglected every other area of my life. So this is really how he sat me down, because I was trying to still continue to go to the gym. And I remember when I got back home, because at this point I lived in Georgia. My family lives in West Virginia. Whenever I got back home, I remember going to the gym for the first time. And I remember walking in the gym, I like warmed up. This is probably like a couple weeks after it happened. And I see somebody walk past me, and they are like built very similar to my brother. And it made me be like, like, because me and my brother were like workout partners. Like, so working out is something that me and him, we talked about the most. So that obviously freaked me out, but it happened again the next time that I went to the gym. And that's when I began to pray about it. And it's just like, Sierra, like healing is a process. Okay. And you are going to have to create space for you to heal. Does that mean I want you to literally lay in the bed all the time? No. Like if you feel like going on a walk, go on a walk. But you going to the gym, and not to mention I was walking to the gym. So it's like you walking a mile to the gym and then lifting for, an hour and a half and then walking back, like energy wise, time wise, even emotionally, you're not going to have enough space to heal the way that you need to. So that's really was my initial distraction, and having to sit down and not do all this walking, not do all this lifting weights, all that I wanted to do changed so much for me.
Looking for amazing products to help boost your first class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first class life, because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com. Man, I could picture that as you were saying it, and just thinking about like what you were probably feeling in that moment whenever it seemed as if your brother was at the gym with you. And I'm sure that did a mind trick on your brain for sure. Jeez Louise. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I know we're going to talk more about the health and fitness aspect of it. But what were some of the things, like you mentioned, recognizing that you were distracted? How were you able to actually stop yourself or, decrease yourself from being distracted?
So, like I said, I think, and I'm the type of person I don't like to say that God did everything because, sometimes I think the enemy be doing stuff. Sometimes we do stuff ourselves. So I don't like to speak on his behalf too much. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that it wasn't a coincidence that the things that I had used in the past as a distraction, including working out, these things that people, consider healthy, were not as enjoyable anymore. I don't find that as a coincidence. So once I kind of sat my butt down, I started to think to myself, like, what does healing even look like in this season? And I started to journal a lot more than I normally do. And if anybody knows me, I burned through a journal in like 2 weeks, baby. Like, I am a journaler. But within that journaling process, I started to think to myself, like, Sierra, if you were your client, what would you recommend they do? What would your expectations be for them? And I kept thinking to myself that, like, if I was my client, I would literally be like, Sierra, come on now, sit down, just take care of yourself. You don't have to be pursuing or working towards something all the time. Like, healing is something that you are pursuing right now. Like, sit in this rest, give yourself permission. So it helped me to kind of like have that bit of like an out of body perspective, because as coaches, which I believe you also do some leadership coaching, sometimes we can be much harder on ourselves than other people are. So I had to really think about, okay, Sierra, what are your gifts? Okay. You're very compassionate. Okay. You're very compassionate and you're really good at letting people feel empowered to like fully accept God's grace and give themselves more grace. So I started praying a whole lot about grace. I started even studying like grace in the Bible. And the more I started to get curious about a lot of the things that were just kind of popping up for me, the easier it was to relax. And I'm not saying it was perfect. It was beautiful, because literally at that point in my grieving process, I didn't like to be around people. That's something that also developed. I think that I felt like some comfort in like not going to the gym. Is like, if I was like, oh, this is kind of nice and I have to see people. So literally there was a period of time where I was just like in my room. Like, I don't want to see anybody. I don't have to explain anything to anybody. I don't want anybody to ask me how I am. I just want to be left alone. So I think that was, one of the big things that helped me was, number one, looking at it from an outside perspective, but also journaling, because I really didn't know how I felt. Like, and when it first happened, I had a couple conversations with some people who had lost people recently. And they were like, Sierra, don't try to describe it. like, don't try to describe it. Don't try to predict it, because it's different for everybody. And it's so unpredictable. It's not like this linear journey. Like, it's a complete roller coaster. And I still, to this day, 2 years later, I can't explain to you how I felt in that moment. I think if I could choose one word, it would just be like disbelief. Like, I felt like I always, for the first year, felt like I was like living in this alternative reality where like I didn't really know what was true or not true anymore. It's like, how do you live in a world where your 23-year-old brother dies before you? Like, how does that happen? So journaling definitely helped a lot. It helped me be able to put into sloppy words like how I felt. Like, I'm not going to share with another person what's in my journal, but I can kind of explain it in a way that's helping me process.
Yeah. And a lot of times our journals are for us to process the things that we aren't able to share with our loved ones, with our support system, maybe not even with our therapist sometimes, or we start in the journal before moving to the therapist.
Absolutely.
And so for the leaders out there that may be using something in their lives to distract them from a struggle or obstacle that they're going through, and, they're using different ways to avoid the pain that they don't want to face. You mentioned looking at it from an outside perspective, and you mentioned journaling. So what are some journal prompts that you would suggest for that leader that's struggling with avoidance and distracting themselves?
So I think before I come up with a quick little prompt, I also want to say that above all of those things, like prayer is what helped me the most. Like, I'm not going to sit here in front, like every day. I was just like, this is how I feel today. Oh, I feel better. It was like, there were so many like prayers of supplication. Like there were so many prayers where I was just like, God, I don't know what to do. And I don't think I'm ever going to get like, that's what a lot of my conversations with God were like in that time. And I think that the journal prompts came from those moments because I would pray. And during that time, I actually came up, and you know what, this technically can be the journal prompt. So I started to do this thing during that time too, where I would pray and then I would take out my journal and I would sit there, I would linger for a few minutes, and then I would ask God, do you have anything else to say? Is there anything that you would like for me to change? And do you have any instructions for me? Okay. And this was really helpful to me in a time where I felt like I wasn't hearing from God like I used to. And that was a trick of the enemy. Like, God was still there as much as he ever was. My grief was just really loud. You know, my grief was just really loud and I wasn't really open to hearing what he had to say unless it was like, okay, I'm taking this pain away from you. It's like, that's all I wanted to hear. So as I began to process my prayers more and like linger and just like sit with God after without an agenda other than like hearing from him and being diligent, so much would come from that. So literally I would like take out my journal. I would sit there for a second. I would like write whatever came to my mind, like literally just whatever it was, I would write and I would just trust myself like that I'm hearing God. And then I would take those things and then I would journal from there and use those things to continue the conversation.
That's good. Trusting yourself that you would hear from God and that he would deliver the message to you. The tip that you needed, the direction that you needed. Now, I know oftentimes for leaders, especially leaders of faith, we can have those moments where we're doubting, like, God, are you even hearing us? Because we done been through one too many struggles, one too many obstacles. And did you have any moments like that where you were just like, WTF.
So, to be honest with you, I'm coming out of that season. So I think that during that season of my life, I was just so low that like everything was a win. You know, you can't get any lower than that. So I was in a season where it's just like, okay, every single little thing was good. So after 2 years of grieving and God calling me to more in my business, I probably like last year, it was like right around, it was probably 6 months before, I ended my relationship. So about 6 months before that, God was like, listen, in this next season of your life, I'm calling you to so much more. And some of these things, some of these parts of your business, some of these habits that you have can't come with you. Okay. So right now I'm asking you to do 3 things. Prioritize these 3 things. And they were very specific. And he was like, and that's it. And that's all. I'm not telling you nothing else. I'm not doing nothing like these 3 things. So, I'm not going to front. Like I prayed one time and he just told me that it was like a very consistent prayer life at the time, like led me there, led to like this very clear place. But as we all know, with clarity, with obedience, like you then have to obey. Like there's no gray area where it's like, well, God, did you say this or did you say that? Which is a very uncomfortable place to be because you are consistently having to choose those things over what your flesh wants, over what you think could be better. So much trust is involved. So at first, I was bought in. I was waking up everything. I was prioritizing the things that he said. But over time, it was like, but God, I can't do all those things and still post as much as everybody says I'm supposed to post. I can't do all these things and like show up in the ways that the world is telling me that I have to show up. Like, and God is just like, girl, he's like talking to the angels. He's like, I listen, she's your child right now. I told her what to do. I'm still here. I told her what to do, but she ain't listening. So I resisted for a really, really long time. And moving to Dallas was actually an obedience piece from 3 years ago. I got this word 3 years ago, but I put the relationship over that initial thing. So after my relationship ended, I went back to West Virginia, spent some time with my family, and then I moved out here to Dallas. And it was such a big moment. I drove out here. The whole time I'm like worshiping and in prayer, and I'm so excited. It's like I'm doing what God told me to do. I'm so excited. Girl, my first couple months here, they were so great. Like, I love Dallas so hard. And that's because the pressure of the move and being by myself made me tap back into that place where I was like in the place of desperation, where you're like, I cannot mess this up. So let me do all of the things that the world and all of the Instagram gurus are telling me I have to do instead of those things that God told me to do. And I got halfway done with and pivoted. So over the past, I would say 3 weeks, and this is just me being completely honest. Okay. It took me that long. These past 3 weeks, I have been 150% committed to those obedience pieces. And listen, he has been working and it's been magical. Okay. It has been absolutely magical. I was telling my assistant the other day that, probably last week or the week before, I was able to do 3 times the amount of work that I had even did the month before combined, trying to do it my own way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, girl, that's this season. Wasn't in, it was now, because I really feel like when something like that happens to you and it just shakes you to your core, it's like anything is better than that. Like anything is better than that. So, and I think I also learned to give myself a lot of grace in that season, which is great. And I really, I actually shared a lot that first year on social media about my process and, Black women giving ourselves, more grace, not just in grief, but in all areas of our lives. But yeah, anything is better than that. And also, I don't think that, like I said, when I would pray at first, I wasn't even giving God the opportunity to give me any type of direction. My prayers were very specific to, I can't handle this. Like, change it.
Yeah.
That's all I had at the time.
That's all we got sometimes, right? And kudos and thank you to you for sharing that with us and being vulnerable enough to let us know like the real, because that's what we like on the First Class Life show, is getting down to the nitty gritty and the things that people won't talk about or don't want to admit, because it does affect us all at some level. Even if it wasn't specifically a loss for one person, it might have been a different kind of trauma or struggle or obstacle that you're going through. And, we can grieve in a lot of different ways. We can grieve after a divorce, even after a breakup with somebody that you've been with for a year
or
2,
even a friendship ending. Like anything you can grieve. It's loss.
I had to grieve the loss of a friendship just a year ago, actually. So listen, there are so many different facets that come with not only being a leader, but just being a human. So thank you for sharing those things with us. And, you mentioned about being obedient and having to do the things that you were told to do. I have this saying that delayed obedience is still disobedience.
I say partial obedience is still disobedience too. That's because we can do it halfway. I did it halfway for a year, and God said that's not good enough. I appreciate you trying. I still love you. I'm still pleased with you and all those things, but I know that you want my more. Okay. And your partial obedience is not enough for my more. I can't, this version of the business, this version of you, it can't go there. It can't go where I'm trying to take you. So just be fully obedient. I promise I'm going to be with you throughout the whole thing. You're going to be okay. All right. And I have been. Yeah.
Did y'all catch that, First Class family? She said your partial obedience is not enough for God's more, I hope y'all wrote that down, okay? Because that is a whole nugget and a whole word right there. And so, what would you say to the leader out there that is struggling to make space to be able to hear the instructions that they are getting?
Listen, I don't know if I could say it in a pretty way. I don't know if I could put a bow on it.
It's okay. It's okay.
A lot of the things that you are doing that is taking up your space and is taking up your time and your energy is pointless. Like, period. Like, it might be getting you to where you are at where you want to go at a certain pace. But for the most part, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, a lot of what we do is to make us feel busy, is to make us feel worthy within our busyness. And when I think about so many of the things that I used to do within my business, I literally did them because I wanted to feel busy all the time, because I connected my worth to busyness. And a lot of times what God is trying to do within us when he's asking for obedience within our businesses, he's trying to make us more effective. Like, he's trying to make us more effective so that we can serve more people. And your pursuit to busyness is going to limit how many people that you can serve and how you show up. So as you are creating your schedules, as you are creating your goals, as you are creating the plans and the KPIs and all the fancy stuff, you better go to God first. Sometimes, literally, whenever I start my day and I pull up to my desk, I literally will meditate and visualize God with a seat beside me, because it's our business. He's the boss. Like, he's the actual owner. So when I visualize him being here present with me, it helps me to remember to conversate with him throughout the entire day about the decisions that I am making. And it's completely changed the trajectory of my business and also my personal life, to be able to take care of myself, to be able to show up for myself the way that I need to, because God knows how much space I need. He knows how much space I need. He knows the desires of my heart. So he's not going to put something on my plate that takes away, all of the space and time that I need to live an abundant life.
That was such a good visual. And for anybody that's listening that's like, I'm not good at visualization. If I said picture a yellow school bus right now, you'd be able to picture it, right? So I need y'all to picture exactly what she just said. And if you forgot, then make sure you go back and rewind however you need to rewind, because that was good, Sierra.
Listen, and also another tip, I'm going to shout out my meditation coach in my program. Sandra of Christ-Centered Meditations is amazing. And I would not be able to get to a place where I can have that visual of God sitting beside me if I had not began her Christ-Centered Meditations. Probably, it was even before my brother passed away. We literally can't remember how we met. Like, it's one of those connections like that you have with people. But her tag on Instagram is Christ-Centered Tribe. She has a Patreon, and all she does are these amazing Christ-centered meditations. They are life-changing. I do them every single day of my life. And a lot of them have like visuals. Like, a lot of times, like, I did one earlier this week where she asked me to like hand my burdens to him, to picture him in front of me, think of the things that are burdening me, and then visualize myself just handing them to them. And I think that I'm able to create those visuals like that so easily because, like, I fostered that muscle through her Christ-centered meditations. I can't take credit for it all. Okay.
We will make sure we put that info in.
She's the best. She's the
description as well. And just another kudos to you for like sharing the spotlight. Okay, listen, we are all about abundance in the First Class Life Show. Okay, so we don't move with the scarcity and poverty mindset, because what's for us is for us, and can't nobody take that away. But we have to be willing to know that there's room for everybody at their table. There's enough food for everybody to eat. And my gift is my gift. Her gift is her gift. Their gift is their gift. And we can all use our gifts collectively together. So look at you. Shout out to Christ-Centered Meditations.
Yes.
Are you loving the First Class Life Show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/first class life. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/first class life. We love it. So if you don't mind, I think that this will be a great time to play a little game.
Yes, I love games.
Let me get my handy dandy timer out, okay? Set this timer. This is called First Class Favorites.
Okay.
And how it works is very easy. I'm going to just say, what is your favorite? Fill in the blank, and you fill in the blank.
I like a lot of things. But I'm up for the challenge.
And to make it a challenge, you got 10 seconds to fill in the blank.
All right. Let's do it.
And if you miss the buzzer, then what is the consequence for the listeners? What do you want to do?
I don't know. What have other people done? Give me some examples.
It can be 5 push-ups. It can be an extra lap. It can be you got to turn off social media for an hour. It can be you got to take a shot of tequila or herbal tea or whatever it is.
Okay, so I'm going to say for everyone that I miss, it's one less hour of watching TV this week because I'm working on watching less TV. I love my shows.
All right. Now, for some, this is easy. For others, this may be a struggle, but we are up for the challenge. Okay. It's all of how you look at it. So you have to watch one less hour of television, whether you watch it on your phone or computer counts. Okay. Because we know we can stream TV from other places than a TV. One less hour of any type of television this week for every buzzer that she misses. So are you ready? I'll start you with something easy, like, what is your favorite color? Go.
Yellow.
Yellow.
Right.
Nice and bright. Bring the sunshine. See, that wasn't too hard, right? That wasn't too hard. Okay, what is your favorite food specifically? Go.
Beets. I know it's crazy. I love beets. I think it's the color. I think it's the color just does something for my life. Yeah, I love beets. But everybody on Instagram knows that. So anybody who's watching this, like, they probably said beets before I ever even said it. Because they think it's crazy.
Listen.
But pizza also.
Pizza? Okay. Now, I can dig pizza. That's my favorite food because there's so many different varieties. But back to this beets because, listen, I don't mean to get all gruesome on y'all first class family, but do you eat a lot of beets? Your poop is red?
Yeah.
Your pee is...
Yeah. No, not all the time, but most of the time, yeah. Yeah. I eat beets every single day. So, yeah. Now, if I don't... Okay, so this probably is TMI, but if I eat beets every day for like a while, eventually my poop isn't as red. But so like if I don't eat beets, like let's say I go on vacation or I'm somewhere else, like I ain't eat no beets while I'm gone. Then the next time I eat beets again, then it's back to that color. But everybody is different. Some people's poop doesn't turn at all. So just forewarning, if you heard me say my favorite food is beets and you go and you try beets tomorrow, don't be alarmed. There's not blood in your stool or in your pee. It's just the beets, baby.
It's just the beets, baby. And we ain't talking about headphones, okay? Yes, I remember one time I did like clean eating cleans and juicing and all of that stuff and some beets, and yep, my toilet was definitely red after the beets.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, sorry family, sorry. We love you. What is your favorite book, title, and author? Go.
Crazy Faith, Michael Todd.
Oh, I got that one right there. Okay, oh my, like right, you see the yellow of it. Yep.
I didn't expect it because I liked relationship goals, but I didn't love relationship goals. But Crazy Faith, actually, let's insert that into some of the things that helped me over the past couple of years in my grieving process. That book that book is probably the reason that I'm obedient right now.
Ooh, nice.
And I still literally, it is literally like in the thing in front of my desk right now. I literally sometimes will pull it out like to reference something. Like that's how integral it's become to my life.
And they have a video series too. I know I had started the video series, but I didn't ever finish it. So if you are not a reader, don't worry. They've got the videos.
So. It's an easy read, though, even if you aren't a reader. The way that he divided up the chapters, if you're familiar with the Crazy Faith sermon series, he uses like the same like titles of faith that he does in the sermon series. So it's like very easy to follow.
Nice.
And it's way better than relationship goals. Those of you who read racial relationship goals and didn't love it, it's good. It's good.
Shout out to Crazy Faith by Michael Todd. Favorite song specifically, go.
Oh, no. Fear is Not My Future. And I know that's new. Okay, so Fear is Not My Future by Maverick City, but not the one that's on Brandon Lake's album or the one that's on Kingdom, the one that is by Essential Worship, and you can only watch it on YouTube. So the reason I thought I would struggle in this a little bit is because every single relationship I've ever been in, every ex is always like, everything is your favorite thing. And it's true. Okay. It is true. I'm the person that I love something and it becomes my favorite thing. So all of my favorite things are going to be like newer things. But listen, if you have not listened to Fear is Not My Future, it's actually Brandon and Chandler. It comes from Brandon Lake's newest album. But the Essential Worship version, because they bring in a couple singers in the background for the Essential Worship version, it'll change your life. Like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, maybe, it was like the only thing I listened to for 3 days.
Okay. I'm going to have to look that one up. And y'all got a freebie because I forgot to hit the timer on that one. I thought I hit it, but my finger did not hit it, actually.
It would have been close. I feel like it might have been like right on the border, maybe.
No worries. Your favorite place to travel specifically, go.
Aruba.
Aruba, Jamaica.
Ooh, it's just so pretty and it's chill and I don't know. I like the style of their restaurants, and if anybody knows me, going out to eat is like my favorite thing to do, no matter what country I'm in.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with Aruba.
Nice. What now? Ooh, this be a good one because you mentioned seasons that you go through in your life. So What is your and you could take this. Let's see how you interpret it. What is your favorite season and why? Go.
My favorite season is my current season. Right now I'm doing, Lord. See, okay, so one thing that my clients, if any of my clients are listening to this, they're like, I wonder how long it's going to take Sierra to cry. because I just care. I care about things deeply. Like, so this season is my favorite season because I'm doing things I never, ever thought that I would do. I actually was having a conversation, I think maybe yesterday, with somebody, talking about how a lot of the times the enemy, uses things against us to make us doubt ourselves. Actually, it's this week's podcast episode. That's what it was, which isn't out yet, but this week's podcast episode on my podcast. And I was talking about how the devil uses things. And one thing that the devil used to use against me was that I have ADHD. I haven't taken medication for it in like 10 years. It's some of the reason why I have journal and have all these different practices and things that I do. But one thing that, the enemy always told me is that you're never going to be able to focus on something long enough to be fully obedient. And I have been speaking that over myself for years. So this is my favorite season because, number one, I'm showing up in ways and doing things I never thought I would do. I'm doing it by myself, like not in a relationship, which is something that I've also doubted my ability to do, which is something I'm working on in therapy. But also, I feel like the way that God is speaking to me right now is just like unmatched. I love God in all the different ways that he speaks to us. But I feel like in this season of my life, I'm having like these very intimate conversations with God that I wouldn't trade for the world.
Mm. Y'all, her current season is her favorite season, and I like the sound of what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, last one. What is your favorite activity to do specifically for self-care? Go.
Walk, 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 walk. Listen, I teach in my program what is called mindful movement. Okay.
Tell
Now,
us.
this whole mindful movement thing, I think, also came after my brother passed away. I've always been a walker. Everybody knows I love to go on walks. But I think that in our society, you know, especially everything is so diet culture laced in this moment in time that when we think about going on a walk, we think about getting a certain number of steps. Okay. And when we think about burning a certain amount of calories, or we thinking about getting a certain amount of steps, it takes away from the power of mindfulness in the walk. So, you know, when you are just worried about getting a certain number of steps or a certain number of calories, you're not paying attention to what the flowers look like around you, what the smells are like around you. You're not taking advantage of the opportunity for you to literally just be in God's presence without any distractions. Put your phone in your pocket, baby. You don't even got to have your headphones on. Literally, sometimes what my walks are is a 30-minute prayer. Like me literally just walking, smelling the trees, hoping I see a cardinal, and just walking and just being completely surrendered. And I think that, you know, that's definitely my favorite activity. Like literally every single, it's 3:10 right now, my time. Whenever we hop off here, it's almost time for my walk. Literally. And I'm excited. I'm excited to do it, because it's just, when you have your own business, which, you know, it can be so easy to get into the rat race of things, to do more, do everything, da 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 da. And that mindful movement for me was a game changer in business, because I figured out that me taking a 30-minute break in the middle of the afternoon and going on a walk is what makes me more effective, because I go on that walk and God gets to speak to me. He gets to guide me. He gets to move things around for the rest of the day if he wants to. And at a very foundational level, at least he's going to give me some strength and focus to go into the rest of the day. So that's my favorite activity.
Listen, I love that mindful movement, and specifically through walking. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you define, you know, what that mindful movement looks like for you. For some first class family, maybe it's running, or, you know, maybe it's jumping on your trampoline, or maybe it's swimming. But just being mindful and intentional of the sights and sounds and the smells all around you, and, you know, just having that moment with yourself and with God and with your thoughts and with, you know, whatever comes up, you know, away from technology and all of the things. So thank you for sharing that. And actually, go ahead.
So I think another important part is being fully present by detaching yourself from the result. You can't be fully present while you are also trying to hit some type of number. And that's a very hard thing for people to do. It's flip it around and just kind of be okay, whatever number comes out of it, comes out of it. You know, that's great if I end the day with 7,000 steps. But for this 30 minutes, these steps are not steps. This is a 30-minute break where my body is moving and I'm fully present with, you know, all of my senses and everything that is around me, and the sun is recharging me if you are able to, you know, go outside and do it. It works on a treadmill too. It's really about, I was just telling my sister the other day, it's really about not having full access to your hands and things that can distract you. It's harder to text. It's harder to scroll on social media, when you're on a walk and you have all these beautiful things to see, or you're on a treadmill. So when you take those things away, it's matchless. I have a client who, she travels a lot for work. So she's not always able to go on a walk. So one thing that she does in order to get present, she has this, little piano, we found a portable mini piano on Amazon. So literally she sits there and she just sits there with God, and she just kind of mindlessly plays the piano, because her hands are taken up by the piano. So she's forced to listen to the sounds that she's making, to kind of look at the keys. There's no technology there. There's no TV, there's no Instagram. It's just her and the piano and God. So if you aren't able to walk, or if you don't have a treadmill, that's what you have to think about. Like, what can I do to get fully present enough to where I can be aware of all 5 of my senses?
That sounds like a book title. Me, my piano, and my God. Yes, thank you for sharing, and thank you for playing the First Class Favorites game, because actually you have now become an author on our First Class Favorites list, okay? Because First Class family, if you are a member of our private Patreon community, then you will have access to this list that has our reading list because, knowledge, we love it. It has our musical playlist, so all of the favorite songs from our phenomenal guests are on there. And places to travel, because we all about being cultured and having experiences. And then lastly, we are all about self-care, so a list of relaxing activities for you to try. And if you want access to that First Class Favorite Things list, then all you got to do is click the link and join our private Patreon community, is where you can find it, along with bonus footage and lots of extra resources and goodies. So make sure you join that. And thank you for playing, girlfriend.
No problem. It was fun. I'm surprised I got all of them.
Now, getting back into this conversation, I can't believe our time is almost up, because there's still so many different things that we have to chat about. But specifically, I would like to ask you, about what you resonate with. And what I mean by that is, let me let you guys know, if you don't know, that First Class Life is an acronym that actually stands for all of the different characteristics and skills that you want to embody into your lifestyle so that you can create a first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. And I'm not going to share what the acronym stands for today, but if you want to find out, you can do one of two things. You can either go watch the very first episode of the First Class Life show, where I go over each of them in detail, or you can head to firstclasslifeshop.com and buy the book, First Class Life, 10 Key Factors for Creating a Life Full of Purpose, Fulfillment, and Happiness. Meanwhile, we are going to ask our lovely, lovely guest, Miss Sierra Brown, which factor of First Class Life do you resonate with the most?
So I'm going to have to go with that I for intentional. I think as a coach, if I could choose one thing that people struggle with the most when I hop on a discovery call with somebody, is intentionality. I think that a lot of us just kind of feel like once we become these people that things just happen, okay? But nothing just happens, okay? And so for me, a lot changed for me when I really embodied intentionality, when I really figured out that okay, I know that I want to do this, and these are the steps to doing this. But if I'm not very, very intentional about the steps, life is going to life, and I'm not going to do those things. So I have become a very intentional person. And as a result of that, I've been able to coach people to also become very intentional, because listen, nothing in your life it's not going to happen if you do not have intentionality. And I think that it's more than what people think it is. I think people think, a lot of times I have clients that come in and they're kind of like, okay, tell me what to do. And we come up with a plan, we get our plan together, and they're always really surprised, because immediately after we finish the plan, I follow it up with another form. I'm like, all right, answer these questions for me. And those questions are to clarify, confirm, and prepare them to do the actions. Okay. And those things that we're thinking about what are some potential barriers? What are some things that you need to do planning wise or schedule wise to make those things happen? People want to stop people want to stop with the plan. It's I'm going to get enough motivation to do the things. Nah, use yourself as data. Know yourself, know your patterns, and intentionally plan against those things. So yes, we're going to go with that intentional.
Yes, yes. And actually, I'm shocked you picked that one because I probably my first guess for you would have been F. F is for faithful. And
Mm-hmm.
but see, that's the thing about living a first class life. We embody multiple factors. It's not just one or the other. All of them encompass us being able to create that quality of lifestyle where
Absolutely.
we're not only making a positive difference for ourselves, but also for everybody connected to us. And that is why it is so great. Okay. So thank you for sharing. And speaking of coaching and clients and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
please share with us, how do you impact the world as a leader today?
Woo. Okay. So how I've impacted the world as a leader has evolved over the past 6 years. I actually used to be in social work. So I was in social work for 8 years, and I ended up getting like my dream job in social work and still feeling like this still doesn't feel good. It still doesn't feel right. I still don't think this is the thing. So for me, and in that season of my life and the season before, I thought that the only way that you can impact the world is by being in like a stereotypical helping profession. That's why I was in social work, because in my mind, like, okay, a good person, that's what they would want to do. They would want to help people for a living. So you are either a social worker or a nurse, something like that. So once I figured out that this really wasn't, it really wasn't it for me. And I was just like, I think I do want to start my own business. So once I like started a platform 6 years ago and, I began to share more, I really figured out that one of the best ways that I can impact people around me is to be very honest about what I'm going through. So I think one of the biggest ways that I have, impacted the world is by sharing my testimony as it happens along the way. But not just waiting until it's perfect. It's like, no, like this is what I'm struggling with right now. And I think that as a lot of women have stumbled upon my platform, they've been like, oh, well, if Sierra can be okay with that, then like I can be okay with that too. So I think one way is absolutely my testimony and just kind of showing the struggle along the way. But on the flip side of that, I think that one way that impact my community around me is explaining things in a way that is digestible. So I think that a lot of women don't pursue growth in their health and wellness because it's become so complicated. Like people share so much information all the time that we feel like I don't know what to do. So you get stuck in like analysis paralysis. So for me, I think I impact the world by making it very simple, like making it very individualized and helping people see that like, yes, you can do it. Like my clients always say, like, you make me feel like I can do anything. And I'm like, because you can do anything. Like you just have to figure out what it looks like for you. So helping people figure out what things look like for them and then showing them in a creative way, like what that step-by-step process is like.
Do you want to be surrounded by other high-achieving women who are working on their goals just like you? Are you looking for your circle that's passionate about their own growth yet still wants to see you shine? Do you desire to be supported through collaborations and connections instead of competition? Then Cowork and Chill is your place to be. Cowork and Chill is a hybrid of virtual co-working and virtual networking. It's a community of women who are striving to build living legacies. This is the space to create meaningful relationships with other equally yoked women where you're being poured into just as much as you pour out. So if you're looking for your crew for supportive accountability, then sign up today at coworkandchill.com. That's COWORKANDCHILL, coworkandchill.com. And you have some programs available to do just that. Go ahead and share with us.
Yes. So I have a group coaching program called Melanin Well Academy. It's actually a group to one hybrid. And my program is all about helping Black women of faith unlearn all of the diet culture craziness that is circulating around the world. You know, all of those beliefs that are embedded into us that tell us that we are only worthy at a certain dress size with a certain shape if we are dieting or we are trying to lose weight. So flipping that around for Black women of faith and helping them figure out, okay, what does health and wellness look like with me, with God at the center of it, okay, with God as the priority, because so many women have turned weight loss, dieting, nutrition, food into idols. It's risen to that big of an issue for us because of diet culture. So my program is a 9-month program. It's wonderful. I love it so much. It's been in the making. It started off as one-on-one 6 years ago, and it's kind of evolved over the years, but it's designed to do that, and you get to do it with the most bomb group of Black women. I don't know what I be doing. Okay. I don't know how I got so lucky to attract the most awesome women in the world, but that is what I do. So yes. And it's all very doable and simple, and everybody is always so surprised. It's like, man, I really thought I was going to have to do 100 different things in 100 different ways. I'm like, nah, we just had it to get through the noise. It's what we had to do. And we had to get through the noise and invite God into the process.
Nice. Can you share with us 2 or 3 quick tips on how we can keep God at the center of our health and wellness?
Girl, yes, I can. That the very first thing, the biggest tip that I'm going to give you is how you start your day matters. Okay. It is much easier to fight all the battles you go throughout the day, but it's really let God fight those battles for you throughout the day. It's much easier to do when you wake up and you go straight to his feet as compared to you wait until you're already in the thick of it and you're like, you know what? I need a little time in the word. It's so much easier, and you can be so much more intentional if you start your day with God. So I actually teach a 3-step morning routine process, which it is worship. Start in worship, fix your heart posture, start with worship, then go into the word, because if our heart is right, then and our minds are open, we're able to receive more from the word. And then that third W is wellness. So at that point, that's where intentionality comes in. Review those things that you're focusing on, making sure that you have everything set up for success for the day. So maybe it's reviewing your schedule. Maybe it's making sure that, you have your meals chosen for the day. Whatever it is, that's where that happens. And that is going to set you up for success. My number 2 thing, I'm going to pick something unpopular. I'm just going to be super polarizing. Stop weighing yourself. Okay. And I'm going to give this advice from a personal perspective, but also from a professional perspective. There are so many things that you can track and keep yourself, motivated outside of what the scale says. Because the reality is that a lot of the tests and ways that, doctors, measure our health, number one, which I can't say who I'm having on the podcast soon, but I'm having somebody really cool on my podcast soon that's going to teach everybody about it. But there are definitely underlying racism in a lot of the testing and the different things that we do. I was literally talking to my sister, Candace. And if anybody listening to this knows my sister, Candace, she is like a ball of muscle. Okay. She is like nothing but muscle. Okay. And we were talking about the BMI, and she was like, I've literally been obese according to the BMI my entire life. And so have I. I've never been able to reach a healthy range within the BMI. And it's because as Black women, number one, we tend to be shaped differently. But number 2, we tend to carry more muscle than other races do. So, the way the BMI is set up, it's nothing but discouraging for most Black women. Okay. Because most Black women fall into that obese category, no matter what you look like. Okay. So for me, my sister literally had abs. We're talking like 6-pack, and she still falls into the obese category. So for me, stop weighing yourself and find things that are outside of the scale for you to pay attention to. Pay attention to how you are showing up. Like, how many times this month did you work out? You know, how many meals are you eating a day that are full of fruits and vegetables? Like, just work on increasing those things that lead to good health outcomes and just leaving the scale behind. I haven't weighed myself in a really long time, and I don't think I probably ever will again because it's not helpful. It's discouraging more than anything.
Oh, and that was like least expected. Stop weighing yourself. But that's so good. That's so good. And I can see like all of the things that you said. It seems to make sense. So
literally, I have clients who could have had the best week ever. I'm talking like they woke up at 6 a.m. They spent the first 45 minutes of their day with God. They ate 3 balanced meals a day. They ran twice a week. They lifted 3 other days of the week. And then they hop on the scale at the end of the week and it doesn't say what they wanted it to say, is because the scale is very unpredictable. And then they go into the next week and they're discouraged and they're like, what am I doing all of that for? And it's just like, no, you were feeling amazing before your feet hit that scale. You were talking about how much your energy has changed. You were talking about how much better your digestion was. You were just telling me that your doctor told you that your labs have been transformed and you no longer were pre-diabetic. But then you hop on the scale and the scale is the enemy. It just in that moment, it's speaking something to you that's just not true. And it's really hard for someone who has been so consumed by diet culture their entire lives to be able to be objective and be like, okay, well, I know that this is unpredictable, so I'm not going to allow that to determine how I feel. That's hard to do. So it's just like, don't weigh yourself. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my clients no longer weigh themselves and they're like, I will never do it again. I've had people throw out their scales, the whole 9.
Look, we love it. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. And speaking of sharing, please share how everybody can get in contact with you on these internet streets, honey.
Yes. So I'm an Instagram girl. Okay. I try to be a TikTok girl. It's not working out for me yet, but Instagram is my jam. Okay. And you can find me on Instagram at I am Melanin Well. Okay. That is my Instagram. And you can click the link in my bio and find everything that you need to find. I also have a podcast. My podcast is called Melanin Well, just like, my Instagram. And those are the 2 best places to find me. Instagram. I also have TikTok for the girls. I think my tag on TikTok is Melanin Well, but as of this moment, I mostly just share my reels to TikTok. Eventually, I will expand and do more. We'll see, girl. It's hard. I feel like as a millennial, it's just there's a learning curve. It's like I just got reels, but TikTok is so different than reels. Mm-hmm. I'm working on it, girl. I know you know that struggle.
Yes, and listen, after we hang up from here, I will share you my best tips. Listen, I don't got the good tips, but I can share you what I've learned so far, okay? So make sure y'all check her out, and no worries, we got you. All of this info will be right in the description, so you can just clickety way at everything that you need. And last but not least, do you have any final advice on how we as leaders can go out there and create a first-class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness?
You know what? I'm just going to stay consistent here and tell you to just trust God to lead the way, man. And the more intimate time that you have with Him, the more that you prioritize your prayer life, the easier it is going to be for you to trust Him, for you to be able to practice contentment. And I think those 2 things are required in order to be leaders. So I guess the tip is to prioritize your prayer life. Like, don't just pray in the morning. I literally have times of the day, like you see in my schedule, I had this in my schedule. And right after it, I have my 3:30 prayer. Like, I literally put prayer into my calendar the same way I do any other event. And you got to respect it the same way too. And I promise you that when you prioritize your prayer like that, everything will change.
Oh, nice. Y'all heard it here first, okay? So make sure, again, that you connect with the beautiful Sierra Brown of Melanin Well. She is awesome, as you have heard here today. And we just want to say thank you for being here with us, because I know you could be doing anything in the world right now, but you have spent your time here with us on the First Class Life Show, and we greatly appreciate it. So make sure you share some nuggets out on social media. Leave us some comments, okay? Share your insights that you got, rate us, do all of the things to boost this out, because if you got some good value, somebody else out in the world that has no clue about this show also needs some good value, okay? So don't forget to share. Sharing is carried. Meanwhile, make sure you tune in for another episode. We are here every week, and you can go back and listen to all the replays and all of that good stuff. And just make sure that you are out there, maximizing your impact and creating your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. Because why? Because you deserve it and you are worth it. Mm-hmm. Adios, amigos.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it.